to be duly signed before the project is being carried on, so that we know the exact duration the project will take. Yeah, that'll be all for now.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Adeyinka, for sharing those lessons in the last class. Okay, I see Mr. Gbenga's hands up. Mr. Gbenga, do you have any contribution?
Thank you so much, Ma. I'm just trying to gather myself when you call, so thank you so much, Ma. Last week class, we talked about the facility project management. And then we look at the definition and what's the project. Also, part of those things that I can even say maybe I gain most on is the planning project, that, when there's a project, there are certain things we need to consider. Number one, we talk about the sponsor. We talk about the receiver of the project deliver, users of the project output, project management teams, establish project goal and the purpose, and the deliverable, schedule of the teams, and so on. So that another thing that that there is this, there's a question we need to ask when you talk about the we need to ask ourselves when we talk about the project. The question are the why, where, when, who, what, and the how, and so on and so forth. So we talk about the project manager too, that the project manager have to be a person that have to be communicate the objective, the assets also, and so on as and so forth. Also, we talk about the project manager skill, that the project manager has to possess some skills, that's what we be able to help him or her on the same project. The number one of it is the conflict management. The project manager have to see how to be able to manage the conflicts, how to see how to manage the people, the leadership results. They have to be able to solve all the problems and so on and so forth on the project, and they have to be somebody that will be able to manage the time. In fact, the instructor talk about the time on that day, because the time is very important. If you have a project, you have to schedule your time, planning, the duration of the period, and see how to be able to deliver within the scope of the time, and so on and so forth. Thank you so much, Ma, because of the time.
Very good, Mr. Gbenga. Well done. This is very quite impressive. Well done. I really like all the key takeaways we took from the session. So I think this time around we have female. One of the female who also share with us our key lessons from the last class. Yes, so I would like to call on Mrs. Victoria Fosa Ajayi. Mrs. Victoria Fosa Ajayi, please take the mic and share with us, your key lessons from the last class. Thank you.
Good evening, Ma. Good evening, class.
Good evening, Ma. Welcome.
Most of the recap has been said, but I also learned too that no two projects are the same, though they may be similar, but that the scope and the resources to be used on that project defines the project. Some projects may be small, some may be big. That the project team can operate universally. They don't have to be in the same place. Hello, are we hearing me?
Yes, Ma, we are with you. Go ahead. We are with you. Go ahead, Ma.
That's my take home, sure.
All right. Thank you very much, Mrs. Victoria, for that key lessons from the last class. Well done. I think at this junction, we can, hand over to the facilitator for this evening's class. But should in case we have anyone who needs clarification from the last two classes, I think you can also signify with the hand raise option. Perhaps we can take that before the facilitator comments for today. Thank you very much, everyone, for your contribution. I'd like to hand over the mic now to Architect Osigwe. Good evening, sir. Over to you, sir.
Okay, good evening all. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, sir. Good evening, sir.
Oh, great.
Good
It's
evening,
good to
sir.
be in
Yeah,
class again. Oh, good. We shall be looking at building fabric and structural maintenance in this in course. And as a facility manager, it is very important that you understand the facility you manage and how you interact with that facility. We at the beginning of last week, we talked about space planning. We talked about the importance of the facility manager understanding the function and the purpose of a space, that it helps you to manage the space. Today, you need to understand the different elements of a building and how to maintain these elements. Building maintenance is essential to prolong the building life cycle and reduce the company's loss. When buildings are neglected, defects can occur, which may result in extensive and unavoidable damage to the building fabric or structure itself. It is not only the building that suffers loss, the inheritance of the building are also exposed to great danger. Now, if you abandon a building not being used for a long time, most often than not, the building deteriorates very fast, very fast. So it is important for us to always maintain a building from time to time, check the different components of the building and how it works. Now we shall be looking at the building into different components, different modules. We're looking at walls. Walls a wall is a structure that defines an area and carries a load or provides shelter or security. Walls in buildings form a fundamental part of the superstructure or separates the interior rooms. Now, walls is that part of the building that transmits the building load to the foundation, and the foundation transmits it down through the earth. Foundation is that part of the building that has direct contact with the earth, with the ground, the earth crust, with the earth itself. And every building must have a foundation. And there are different types of foundation. 4 basic types of foundation, just for classifications. There are more subheadings, but the basic classifications, you have the strip foundation, you have the pad foundation. Strip foundation is a traditional kind of foundation where you just dig through the ground, you pour a little bit of concrete, and then start setting blocks up. A traditional way of building. Pad foundation are majorly used for the underneath of columns. For if you go around and you see street lights, you see these concrete cubes that are underneath the street lights where the street light stands on. Those cubes are called pad foundation. And you have raft foundation. Raft foundation is a foundation type that is used where the load-bearing capacity of the soil is extremely bad, especially in areas like swampy area or sandy area where the soil is very bad and may not be able to take a strip foundation. Pile foundation is another type of foundation, and it is used for most of this high-rise building, and it's because they're used for buildings where the load of the building is extremely high, and the sound condition cannot carry the building load that is coming on it. That's where you use pile foundation. Pile foundations are also used in areas where the soil load bearing capacity is extremely low and cannot support the weight of the building. However, all the different foundations are determined by the engineers, but after their calculation, the structural engineer actually designs and recommend the kind of foundation that is suitable for whatever building you hope to build. Now, coming back to walls, you have 2 major types of walls. We have the load-bearing walls and the non-load-bearing walls. The load-bearing walls they carry the load of the building and transmit it to the foundation. They are either internal or external walls. Non-load bearing walls are walls that just carries its own weight, and most non-load bearing walls are used in a building structure that we call frame structure, where the load of the building is transmitted by columns and beams alone. Columns and beams alone. The columns and the beams transmit the load of the building down to the foundation, which now subsequently transmitted down to the earth. Other types of walls include parting walls. Parting walls are just really just partition walls that are used from place to place to separate buildings. They are major walls. They are good for sound insulation and also good for firefighting. We also have firewall. Firewall used to separate two structures, and it has a lot of fire resistance embedded into it. You have shell wall. Shell walls are built walls that are built to withstand against the wind or earthquake. They are normally found in high-rise buildings. Shell walls are used in high-rise buildings a lot of times to be able to keep the building in form so that the building does not collapse. The shell walls are normally at the core of the building, and they use that to stabilize the building so that the wind effect that may arise, that may have impact on the building, does not bring the building down. You have movable partition walls, you have curtain walls or building facade. Curtain walls are becoming increasingly popular around Nigeria. Glass facades, you have curtain wall made of glass, just to give the building some bit of decorative and some fine feel. They are not load-bearing walls at all. They don't carry the load of the building because they are actually for beautification and decoration of the building. You have the cavity wall. Cavity wall, it is a wall constructed in two leaves, stroke skin, which are separated with a cavity in between. Cavity walls helps to prevent rain to the internal wall surface of the building, and are not load-bearing walls generally. They just form a cavity in between itself. It also helps to control a little bit of sound. It gives some proof into the inner walls, because where you have a cavity, you have a little bit of air in between. Wall types of wall finish. You have this stained glass finish, which you find in cathedrals, in churches and mosques, especially those old churches like Catholics or Anglican church or Baptist churches, Methodist churches. You find those stained glass and some mosques. Religious areas generally, you have that. You have pebbled finish. Where you have pebbles that are put on the wall. It makes it look attractive. Best suited for building facade and around waterfalls or water fountains. You have plaster cement finish. Plaster cement finish are the regular one where you mix sand and cement with plaster sand and just plaster on the wall. That finish is also a kind of finish. You also have the marble finish. This is when you use marble to finish the wall. They're very smooth, and it looks more very beautiful, like good marble floor. You have the POP, plaster of Paris finish. This is when you apply the POP, especially in the internal walls. It makes it smooth and make it look very nice. Tile cladding. This is when you use tiles to finish the wall, like in the toilets, the bathrooms, and some areas in the kitchen, so that it looks nice and good for water resistance. Types of wall materials. You have plaster boards. Plaster boards are used for dry walls most of the times. They are good sound, they are very cost efficient, and also it is easy to install. It's cost efficient because you can reuse them. You can, when you decide you don't like the position of the wall, you can easily just take it out and reinstall. Unlike brick that you have to break. Brick is more permanent than using a plaster board. You have brick walls, you have mortar, you have plaster. Those are some type of wall materials. you have wall tiles, you have wooden cladding, you have wallpaper that can also use for finish. Wallpaper is becoming increasingly popular around here these days because people are now using more wallpapers to make their wall look decorative. External wall materials, you have metal cladding, which you call the aluco bond. You have stone cladding, you have stone finish, just to make the wall look nice, as though you just cut stones into small pieces and just attached to the wall by using a mortar. You have plastic cladding. This is also like having a plastic aluco bond that they just use to clad the wall just to make it look nice. Cladding actually applying one material over another to provide a form of skin used for thermal insulation, weather resistance, and improves the appearance of the building. That is what cladding does. Cladding improves the functions of a wall. Provides protection from weather, allows for proper demarcation of all given areas, gives barrier to sound and sound insulation, separates spaces in the interior, gives strength and stability to the building, reduces spread of fire from one building space to the other, also helps in thermal insulation and provides security to the inhabitants or those that are inside the other side of the wall, provides security. Wall maintenance plan. Normally, we advise that once you get into your facility, one of the first things you do is that you do a walk around on your facility. You check your walls, and the things when you do your inspection of the walls, you check for wall movement. We check for wall movement, especially if it's a new structure. After a while, the building will settle, and once the building settles, it's most often than not may show some level of cracks, especially when it's just a artificial settlement. Building check for building settlements, correct all settling issues, all settling issues. When building settles, sometimes it forms you have cracks. Those cracks are normally not structural, but when they are structural, it means that it has affected the foundation and the foundation is failing. In such a case, you may need to tear down the building. It's very important for us to know that after the inspection and it shows that the building has settled or shows some very dangerous wall cracks, it's better you get in touch with a qualified structural engineer to come look at the building and then advise accordingly. Proper maintenance of landscape surfaces around the wall, proper maintenance of the landscapes of surfaces around the wall. It means that we expect that every facility that the church has, and you have planters around, that we should be sure that we keep them properly trimmed all the time, and we need to learn to do that. It makes the wall looks nice and preserves the wall so it doesn't even stain out the paint. So if you paint within a year or 3 years, come back and paint again, which is not the best. Wall maintenance, flaking paint. This is when you have moist within the wall, and then you try to treat that. Once the moist dries off, the paint begins to flake. Once that happens, what you do is you scrape out the flaking areas and apply a little bit of surfaces to treat the surface, and then you paint over it. Chalking paint, same solution may be as a result of weather or bad paint material, bad quality of paint. Prepare the surface, remove the chalking, and then just repaint. when you have mold growing on the wall, this is normally caused by leakages, water trap in and gutters trapped in and gutters overflowing. Once you have water trapped in the walls, it causes moist and mud on the walls. So one of the things that you need to do, you need to clear the gutters, check the AC condensate pipes that are in the wall to be sure that they are not broken inside the wall and it's not leaking. And then immediately you are able to isolate the leaking problem and fix the leaking problem. You'll now be able to repaint the wall, scrape the wall, sand, prepare the wall, and then repaint, fixing corroded. When you have when you have pipes that have been corroded due to salt or moisture, which it used to be a serious issue those days, that we use galvanized pipes. You remove the corrosion by sand, and then fill the hole with putty and repaint the areas of that bar. Sealant getting weak at joints. This is when you use UPVC pipes. The sealant that will put at the joint sometimes gets weak. We may need to look at that, take it out, and refix it so that the whatever leakages that may go into the wall can stop, so that the damage that will be done to the wall will be minimal. Ceilings and roofs. A ceiling is the overhead interior surface that covers the upper limit of the floor. It is not generally considered as a structural element, but a finished surface concealing the underside of the roof structure or the floor of a stone above. Different types of ceilings. You have the acoustic ceilings that are good for sound insulation. You have the drywall ceilings used of plasterboard. You have suspended ceiling used for general office areas. You have cathedral ceilings. These are the ceilings that are found in cathedrals, specially designed for them. Factors for selecting ceiling finish. The floor type can be a factor. The lifestyle of the owner of the building can be a factor. Durability can also be a factor. Its fire resistance, ability, or capability can also be a factor. Appearance of the ceiling finish, function of the building, safety of the building occupants. All these are factors that affect the selection of the ceilings. Ceiling materials. Examples of ceiling materials. You have wood boards, commonly used for general structure of the building. You have plaster, you have plasterboard, you have wood panels or plank, you have metal ceiling tiles. And this is very easy to install. And they also can it just helps to when you have suspended ceiling, use them more in commercial buildings or in big time office buildings for ease of installation and maintenance. Ceiling repair. Water is a major source of ceiling damage. Identify and stop the source of leakage. Dry the area above and below the ceiling. Remove parts of ceiling that are damaged. Scrape away any part of the ceiling that is being loose or is buckling. Then leave ceiling if it's still flat and smooth. Replace entire ceiling if the plaster separates from the wood lashes. Use sandpaper to smoothen over the ridges between good and affected area. Apply primer and paint if there are visible space on the wall. You must learn to just apply primer and paint to treat the wall. It's very important. And for roofs, a roof is the top cover structure of a building, including all materials and construction necessary to support it on the wall. of the building or upright, providing protection against rain, snow, sun, and extreme temperatures and wind. A good roof is part of the building. A good roof is part of the building envelope. You must know that the roof is part of the building envelope. There are different types of roof. Majorly, you have the flat and the hip roof. Flat is when it is flat and just very gentle slope. And hip is when you have the different rising of the roof. You have this image giving an example. You have the gable, you have the clip, you have the hip roof, you have the shade roof, you have this flat roof, you have the mustard roof. So whichever one that your building takes, it's important you look at that. Factors for selecting roof finish. How strong the finish is, its ability to transpass light, the cost, and how attractive it is. The load of the roof itself is also a factor that helps to select the type of roof. Types of roof finish. If you have the plastic roofing sheets, you have the corrugated galvanized sheets, you have the fiberglass sheets, you have the polycarbonate sheets, and you have tiles. Roof materials. Asphalt can be used, wooden slabs can be used, metal can be used, which are the long span aluminum and so forth and so on and so forth. Roof damages, roof repairs. Damage is usually as a result of storm or water downpour. Assess the extent of damage on the roof. Check if there is a leakage. Check if there are holes on the wall or the roof that needs to be repaired. Remove roof material down to its the sheets in damaged areas, and then replace the damaged material. Prevent additional water damage by ensuring the roof is properly tied. Ensure the roof gutters are free of depth. Allow free flow of water at any point in time on top of the roof. Floors. A floor is the bottom surface of a room or a vehicle. Floors may be stone, wood, bamboo, metal, or any other material that can support the expected load being designed for. The level of the building are often referred to as floors, although a more proper term is supposed to be story. Floors typically consist of subfloor for support and the floor covering used to give a good working space. In modern buildings, the subfloor often has electrical cabling, plumbing pipes, and other building services going through or going under, as the floor must meet many needs, especially some essentially to safety need. The floors are built to strict building codes in some region. So there are different types of floor. We have a laminate floor. Laminate floor is resistant to stain, rarely fades, very durable, very easy to install. Once discolored or damaged, it can be rehabilitated. Easy to clean by water, good for sound, for high traffic areas. That's for laminate floor. You have tiles, floor tiles, good for high traffic areas, as easily replaced and very durable, easily damaged when hard objects drop on it. But tires are very good when if once it's damaged, it can easily be replaced. You have wooden floors. Floors can be rehabilitated easily or refinished when damaged. It is not so aesthetically pleasing, but some, when properly done, looks very nice. It is not ideal for use in a business environment. It's better for houses, individuals. Its value is immediately taken away at the beginning of its life cycle because wood is not cost effective because wood in itself deteriorates fast. But when it is properly seasoned, you can use it for years and years, having the right amount of wood. Carpet floor tile is very economical but not cost effective. Wears off easily. It may not be not made for a long haul. That is, carpet is not to be used for a long time. It's just for a short period of time because you have to change it from time to time because it fades out easily gets damaged and all that. You have ceramic tile floors, made of ceramic materials, actually water resistant, difficulty in cleaning the grouted lines. That's where you have dirt hiding in it. There is a tendency of low quality tiles chipping off at the edges due to low quality of the material. You also have marble floors. Marble is quite expensive and it's quite durable. When you're able to maintain it and polish it properly, it looks good and nice and very beautiful. Used for both walls and columns too, not just for floors. Marble can easily be cleaned and maintained. When it is properly cleaned and maintained, it looks very nice all the time. It gives a very good impression. You also have suspended floors made up of two materials. Sometimes you have concrete and timber joists that are used for this suspended floor. It gives comfort to building occupants when carpet is spread on top of it. Gives a good soundproofing when well installed and used in upper floors because wood in itself is a soundproof material, so it doesn't allow so much noise to emanate from it. When it is properly installed, it just absorbs the noise that may likely come from the wood itself. So it's actually a very good material, but it's not too popular in use anymore. You have solid floors made up of different materials for setting it up in itself, solid floors. You have the sub base, which is almost like the base where the floor comes on it. You have concrete. The concrete comes on the sub base. You have the cement floor screed, sand, and damp-proof membrane installed. The damp-proof membrane, damp-proof course. Then they form that form of insulation. Just the damp-proof course of damp-proof membrane is to help to prevent damp and capillary rise from affecting the building in itself. Special floor structures include raised floor. Raised floor gives easy access to utility underneath. Raised floors are normally used for office spaces or server rooms where you have a lot of cables flying underneath the floors and they just need somewhere to tuck the cables in so it doesn't look too ugly to the eyes. You also have balcony, a raised floor projecting from the wall. Balconies are normally attached to the building. It's sometimes it could be a secondary thought to the building design. However, if it's planted or planned along with the building plan itself, it looks very good and nice. That's for balcony. You also have glass floors. There are some floors that are made for glass and it's good for sound, for the reduction of sound or vibration, because glass in itself, when it is properly installed, we expect that this particular glass will be toughened glass and laminate glass. And once the glass is laminate, it's able to absorb the sound that are around there. You have the spot floor, which are used for indoor games, dancing, football, basketball, volleyball, and so on. All what you have on that for all the indoor sports. Those are the kind of floors that you find in basketball pitches. Those floors that looks like wood. They have some level of insulation underneath, so that and also protection. So when you are playing the game and you trip and you fall, you don't really land on the hard surface. It gives you a little bit of protection. Floor coverings, you have soft flooring, warmth, but difficult to maintain. That you have rugs and carpets. They're nice, they look very nice, they're warm. Some people do not like carpets because it causes a lot of irritation from them, because if you don't clean very well, you have dust hiding inside the carpet. And when you want to now do thorough cleaning, the place becomes extremely dusty, which can also affect the health of people that are working or the cleaners that are working. It's not always as durable as it should be, because it has a tendency of fading away and losing its initial essence. Resilient that's walls that are durable and easy to maintain. You have rubber floors, sorry. You have the vinyl sheets, and you have the linoleum, which helps also to distribute those around the floors. It's just like epoxy, making it look very nice. You also have the hard flooring, durable but expensive. You have concrete floor, ceramic tiles, you have granite, you have marble, you have vitrified tiles, you have a brick where it is applicable, and you have terrazzo, my personal favorite. They're very hard floors. I love terrazzo so much. It's so beautiful. If it's properly installed, you don't need to do anything on the floor. You can just wash it properly and clean it. You will enjoy having terrazzo in your house. It's very durable, very durable. It's extremely nice. I like terrazzo so much. Problems associated with floors. You have where you have scraping of the wood floor in certain areas. This is where this occurs at subfloor joints as a result of wood rubbing on each other. Problem can be reduced by holding the piece to each other with screws. You just screw the places that's coming out properly, and then you solve the problem. Vibrating floors vibrate or vibrating or making a lot of sound when there is heavy footsteps on it. Reduces problem by flotation of the floor. You just make sure that everything that is stick on the floor are properly held down in place. Floor borders giving gap. When you have floor borders giving gap, usually caused by moist. The floor is very moist when it was installed, and when it begins to dry out, it gives way, all the wall surface. It's something I will need to do. Wooden boards crack and separating usually occur in line with weather changes, especially in rainy season when the room is heated up. Monitor the room temperature and take corrective actions. Will reduce the seasonal shift of the wooden floor, because actually reacts to the environment very well, to the weather. Once there is cold weather, it absorbs a lot of moisture. By the time it's getting to the dry amortized season, the wood will dry out and then begins to form gap at different areas. Okay, floor cleaning. cleaning method depends on the type of floor we are looking at. For wooden floors, clean the furniture, clear the furniture, wipe all loose dirt away from the floor. Give it going along with the grains and mop the floor, and add a few drops of cleaning soap in the water, damp the mop with water, and then you commence your washing. Okay. You need to wipe the mop throughout the area thoroughly. Wipe out the mop thoroughly before you use it. Do not use water for very for floors that are what that as are going to be absorbing the water. So you need to just be careful. You can use a bucket and stain the mold above the floor with soft cloth to remove any soapy residue. Tile and stone floors. Remove dust and dirt away from the with a broom or vacuum cleaner. Spray the appropriate cleaning solution on the floor. Scrape the floor or mop the floor. After you scrape the floor for all the dirt, and eventually you just add your mop to mop. Cleaning schedule. You look at different schedule of cleaning, especially for floors. Daily schedule is to just dust, sweep, and mop. We know that that one is a regular occurrence. You need to clean the floors. You need to just sweep them and mop. Then for weekly schedule, we expect that at least once in a week, you should do a little bit of vacuuming the floor, take out some very stubborn stains that probably might have been hiding itself around the tiling grout. You just wipe those things away. You also look at monthly schedule. You probably plan to polish the floors once in a week. This schedules that we are giving is just high level. You can modify depending on the material, the floor type you have in your facility, and how you're able to maintain and manage them. Quarterly schedule deep cleaning every quarter in the year. Schedule at least one deep cleaning and to keep the floor in good and pristine condition. So it only shows that you are maintaining the floors and you are making it look good. It's very important that all the different components in the building needs to be properly maintained. And once you maintain the building properly, it will always look good and it will not deteriorate very fast. It means that you as a facility manager, you are doing a good job. Then you have people coming into the property, they will be happy that their facility is properly maintained and looks pristine and looks good all the time. And that gives you a plus as a facility manager. It's a plus for you as a facility manager. Windows, I'll probably say that I'll take a 10 minutes break now. So that when we resume, we'll go into taking windows and doors, which will be the last part of this course for today. I hope that's fine.
Very fine, sir.
All right, then. Thank you very much. So we return. This is 5:50. Return by 6 o'clock on the dot. Okay, 6 o'clock, so we start. Can you hear me all?
We can hear you, sir. We can hear you. Welcome
Okay,
back,
Go
sir.
ahead,
great.
sir.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks, sir.
Windows. A window is an opening in a wall, door, roof of a vehicle that allows for the exchange of light and may also allow for passage of sound and some air. Window is normally used for fenestration and for ventilation. Modern windows are usually glazed or covered with some other transparent or translucent materials. Many glazed windows may open to allow ventilation or close to exclude inclement weather that may affect the interior spaces. Windows may have latches or similar mechanism to lock the window shut or to hold it open by various amounts. There are different types of windows. Windows generally helps for fenestration, movement of air, for ventilation, and even to throw light into any spaces. There are different types of windows and they have different purposes and different functions. Types of windows used in a building. There are so many. There are so many types of windows that are available based on their position, material, functionality, or functioning parts. Windows are classified as follows. You have fixed window. Fixed windows are just the ones that are fixed. No, they don't close, they don't open, they just permanently locked. It just throws light into the space. You have sliding window, like you know. You have pivoted window, the one that you push out. You have a double hang, it hangs twice. You have louver windows. You have casement windows that opens like the doors. You have metal windows. You have corner windows. You have bay windows, dormer windows, lantern windows. You have gable windows. You have ventilators. You have skylights. Skylights are normally located on the roofs and ceilings so that you just open it, it throws light directly from the sky into the space. Window covering, you have internal window coverings, applied films. You can have films on the wall, on the window to tint the window or to reduce the amount of sunlight and ultraviolet ray that's coming into the space. Cellular shade provides excellent insulation, improves energy performance. You have drops and curtains, like what some people call drippers, like just you are used to decorative, used for decoration, gives privacy to interior spaces. You have internal louver shutters, provides control over solar heat gain and gives privacy and adequate demarcation from the back of the window, adequate lighting. You just use that to control the lighting that is coming to the space. External window covering, you have external louver shutters and ruler shutters, protects window from weather, improves security. External shutter shade, ruler shades, protects window from the weather and provides solar control. External solar screens and fixed retractable arms, provides control over solar heat gain. Ruler shutters provides window, it protects window from the weather. Window glazing, you have spectrally selective coat applied on tinted glass to a glazing system, increases and decreases the solar heat gain that comes into this place. You have reflective coat, what some people call reflective glass, reduces the transmission of solar radiation into the space and blocks more light than heat, gives control over solar heat gains. Those reflective windows, glasses that you see where it looks like a mirror from the outside. You will not be able to see inside. From inside, you see outside clearly. You also have gas-filled windows. If you have ever traveled by aircraft, sat by the window side of the aircraft, first of all, the windows of the aircraft, they are fixed windows. You can't open it. If you look at those windows, you see that there are two glasses that you have there. In between the glasses filled with gas. Such windows are good for thermal control, improve thermal performance of the window. It's also very good for insulation of sound. And for high-rise buildings, they use more of those kind of windows because of the sound and the wind pressure at higher level, at the skyscraper level. So they use this kind of windows. Window frames, the frames can be made from composite material, resistance to moist and decay. You have vinyl frame, good and is a good resistance to moist and do not require painting. You have aluminum frame, reduces heat flow, good conductor of heat. You have the fiberglass frame, gives better thermal performance compared with wood. You also have the wooden frame, wood. Types of window materials, you have wood. Hardwood is expensive, but durable hardwood needs to be protected from constant application of oil. Soft wood will be protected by paint. You have aluminum. Aluminum is becoming popular, the best option when maximizing maximum light is required. The strength of the aluminum can't support a large area of glass. Has a disadvantage of conducting heat, very prone to condensation, has low maintenance cost. Because once aluminum is there, aluminum is there. Vinyl gives good sound and heat insulation. Requires little maintenance. Windows can be made from a combination of different materials. For example, aluminum windows with a steel casement and wooden core can be put in the wooden frame to reduce loss of heat. There are also windows with rare wood in the inside and fiberglass vinyl on the exterior. Just to mention just a few types of windows. You now have the windows maintenance. Now, for windows, use weather strips to reduce air and water infiltration into the space. Regular inspection of the windows, interiors, and exterior is one of the things you need to do. Check windows for hardware, check window hardware, locks, and opening mechanism to find out that they are still in place. Any exposed hardware must be tightened securely. Always inspect the exterior cloak of around the window frame outside the edges. Check the window for smooth operation. Clean dirt, dust, and sand from the window sills, tracks, and hinges. Because once you have dust and all that, it affects the performance of the window. Window repair, timber frame from rot, the decayed wood, and paint flecking. Cut off small area of that is rot, and then put with putty, fill with putty, and finish properly. If it is a large area, cut off the damaged part, treat the remaining part with preservative, apply primer and undercoat as a finish. Window sill can be repaired by cutting off the roughing part, planting in a new piece of seasoned wood so that it sits properly. That's for window frames that are done with wooden frames. Window panel messing up. the formation of condensation inside the steel cavity when you have the window, when you have mist that are sitting inside the window. You need to look at having to maintain how those cavities sit in the window, how the seal. When the seal is broken, you now need to replace the glazing seal units or replace the whole window unit itself. Damp and drought on windows caused by rain entering through the gaps around the window. Improve room ventilation or remove moist air. Seal up gaps in and around the window. Install insulated plastic closers, and then look at a window. The window should be draught free. Window should be draught free. Metal window corrodes. Okay, defective lintel. When you have defective lintels, the exposed wood, especially when it comes to when it's affected by wood, the exposed wooden lintel to be dried up and replaced. Insert new lintel to support outer cavity weight, so that you can be able to maintain that. The lintel of the building, or sorry, of the window, is normally on top of the window, and the seal is at the bottom of the window. Doors. Now, doors, there are different types of doors, and the various types of doors in the building. Doors is an accessible barrier which is provided in a wall opening or gives an access into a room or a building. The internal portions of the building are usually connected by doors. And the door types used in building works. Now, doors are classified into several types based on 4 major criteria: the placing of the components of the door, the method of construction of the door, the working operation of the door, the construction material used for the door. For the placement of the components of the door, there are several types that has that placement of the door. You have the batten and ledge doors. This is like the old kind of doors we find that we use in our villages. You have the batten. The batten are done, are put vertically, and the ledges are done horizontally. You have the batten, ledge, and brace. The batten is done vertically, ledge horizontally, the brace hexagonally. Then you have the batten, ledge, and frame door. This is when the battens are also placed vertically, the ledges are placed horizontally, and the frame is placed around itself. And you now have the batten, ledge, brace, and frame door. This is where you have the frame around the door. You have the ledges, put the battens vertically, the ledges horizontal, and the brace hexagonally, to give the door some little bit of sturdiness. Then types of doors based on the method of construction. You have panel door, frame and panel door. This is when the door, you see the frame, the door has a frame and is broken into individual panels. You now have the glazed door made of glass, louvered door made of louvers, either wooden louvers or metal louvers. You have the flush doors, and then you have the hollow core cellular flush doors. You have the wired gauge doors. This is like the net doors you use at home or you use in the farms or in any way where you have net doors. You also have doors that are based on the working operation of the door itself. You have revolving door, you have sliding door, you have swing door, single or double swing, depending on the door you use. You have the collapsible steel door. You have the roller steel shutter doors used for more of these stores, shops. You have more of roller shutters because of protection. They're made of steel. You also have a door types based on the material. You have the mild steel sheet door. You have the corrugated sheet door. You have the hollow metal door. You have the metal covered plywood door. That is, the door itself is covered by plywood, but inside it is made of metal. You now have other broad types of doors, and the French door opens up to a space, allows a big entry and exit. That's for French doors. Aluminum doors used for either interior or exterior, has advantage of resisting weather. It has lightweight and does not transfer much load to the foundation. The frame are not affected by timement and they last longer. That's for aluminum doors. The different components of the door stopper is a thin sheet inside the door frame. Prevents the door from swinging to the other side when the door is closed. Prevents hinges from breaking as the door does not swing through. You also have the lintel. The lintel, like I mentioned earlier, is the top part of the window or the door. The bottom part is called the sill. The architraves is the one that's on the face of the door around where you have the door frames. The sill is the bottom part of the external door. Is parallel to it's like you have a parallel plate at the base of the door that gives the door some level of support. For door repairs, door do not close properly. When you have that issue, check if the door is swollen as a result of very humid weather. That will happen to wooden doors when they soak moist. After a while, it swells. And once that happens, the door may not close very well. If it's as a result of high humid weather, and that problem is common to wooden doors, allow the wood to dry properly, and then it will adjust itself. Do not latch properly as a result of wrong position of the frame or caused by strike plate. Strike plate is that part beside the door where the door jumps into and locks. Sometimes if it's not properly locked, it may not latch well. The door may not properly latch. Do adjustments. Door adjustments should be checked and repositioned. Cold air coming in around the door. This is when the gap of the door is too much. As a result of door having so much gap, the door should be adjusted properly to reduce that issue from happening. Flush bolts checked. When you have issues with the flush bolt, check all flush bolts for loose attaching screws. Service the flush bolts, add oil and replace defective parts. Door frames, inspect door frames regularly, repair any defective and paint them. Prevent premature rot for the door. Glass slides, check regularly for cracks and missing panel pieces when you have a glass inset in your doors. Door maintenance checklist. Normally, once you have your facility, you should just have a small checklist for the doors. You check the door locks and opening mechanism that are functioning well. Check the door operation that they operate smoothly. Check the door screws that are tightly secure. Check the door hinges and tracks for sand and dirt. Check if the screws are secured and fastened to the screens combination. Trim off any cloak that is loose. Seal up gaps with quality cloak, and then check if the weather strips is still affecting or still effective in the door mechanism in itself. Okay, thank you very much. So that's it for today. So I'll probably take our questions. If you have any questions on all the components or issues that you may have as a result of building fabric. I can see one question now. Clement, could you unmute yourself and ask your question?
Good evening, sir. Thank you, sir, for the privilege to ask this question.
Yes,
from
please.
experience, both in office and home, sometimes you see walls as if maybe they are peeling. Maybe the paint is peeling. Probably it could be as a result of water, maybe from the top, water flashing on the wall, or probably maybe because the block is not quality. I don't know. But what I'm asking is that what, from your experience, which of the wall do you think is the best to avoid each time you paint piece, you have to scrape and repaint and all that and all that? Thank you.
Okay, just to answer your question, first of all, once you have that kind of situation, you have just mentioned it, it may be as a result of the construction of the wall itself. And once the blocks that are used for the construction of the wall is not the right standard, it will also be a problem. And by the time you are plastering, they do also use the right mix of plaster sand when they are doing plastering. It also affects the wall itself. When that happens, you need to, and the wall will easily absorb moist. One of the things that affects paint, if the wall is not properly dried, the moisture of the wall will affect the paint, and it will keep swelling and tearing off. So to solve that kind of problem, you need to effectively try as much as possible to look for the areas where you have moist coming into the wall, dry it out, and make sure the wall stays dry. And then when you paint, it will stay up. If not, you will just keep uh, uh, working on that wall. When it's a bad wall, there's nothing you can do about it, especially when it's not capillarized or you have water leakage coming from one pipe or the other inside the wall. If it's just due to the fact that when it rains, the wall soaks water generously, you may need to look at that and work around that. I hope I've answered your question, Mr. Clement.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Let's see, Adebola, your hand is up. Can you unmute yourself? Good evening.
Well,
Yes, I can hear you. You can go ahead.
what you've just said about that. I said, can I add to the answer you gave to that man? That question.
Yes, you can add.
Okay, thanks, sir. From my experience, one of the causes, one, low foundation. If the foundation of the building is low, we are about to experience that kind of thing. Secondly, if there is no German floor, like most of these houses, some people will not do German floor. Some will not put nylon or undercoat just to like prevent the just to prevent that. So there's different reasons that cause it. Like my house personally, I once experienced it. I tried to like screed the plaster, it stopped, up later it started. But to conquer it all, I just applied tiles on it. And I think that solved the problem for me. Although I knew there are some other better methods to do that now. Some using chemical and some other stuff. So that's that about that. So let me come to my question, sir. Hello, sir.
Yeah, go ahead. I can hear you.
My question is there, should I call them an expatriate that will like determine, if like there's a project I've been asked to come and maintain. So while looking at the house, I was even asking myself, can this house withstand the next 10, 15 years? Are there expatriates that can like look at the house and look at it that, oh, maybe due to one reason or the other, this house will not last more than 25 years again, or is there advice? One. Secondly, why considering foundation? I know we do soil tests. I want you to like enlighten me more about the soil test so that I'll be able to know the soil test. Like, will it tell me, yeah, can take only 5-story building, can take only 2-story building, and some other stuff. I just to like more clarity on that aspect. Thank you, sir.
Okay, first of all, you asked if there are experts that can look at the building and tell the lifespan of the building. Yes, you have structural engineers that can look at building. They normally do a non-destructive test on the building structural elements of the building, and they can now advise you to say, oh, this building may go into distress within the next 2-3 years. It's either you tear it down or you do some reinforcement to the building. There are experts that does that. So you have structural engineers. They conduct non-destructive tests, and they will advise you accordingly. Then for the issue of the foundation type due to the soil test, yes. So one of the tools that the engineer used to determine the type of foundation that a building will have is the soil test. Once the soil test is done, the engineer reads the soil test. It will check the load-bearing capacity of the soil, which is supposed to be on the report, the soil test report. And it is based on that the engineer will do his calculations and then advise or recommend the kind of foundation that is required for that building to be built up. So yes, you can use your soil test, and the engineer can use the calculations to determine the foundation type. Thank you. I hope I've answered your question, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. You've answered my question.
Yes, sir.
Can I add one more, sir?
Okay, add one more before I get to Usman.
Okay, thank you. Oh, in a situation where we have pipe fail, like the piling has
You're
been
breaking
done,
up. I can't hear you,
but due
sir.
to a reason or the other, after we've done the piling, they will now conduct the test. So that one of the pile or two has fallen off. Is there anything to do to like justify that? Because there's a project I'm looking at, the building is set in my eye.
I can't really hear you very well, but if I hear what you have mentioned, you said in a situation where the pile that have been done in a building has failed, what can you do? Is that the question you're asking? Adebola, I can't hear you anymore. Anyway, if that's what the question you're asking, what happens is that once the pile load test has been done, or the pile integrity test has been done, the readings is given to the engineer, and the engineer actually will now check. Yes, can you, yeah, the network is back. I'm trying to answer your question. If I assume I heard you right.
Yes, okay, I'm with you now.
Okay, yeah, I said for issue of piles, once the pile has failed the pile test, the result goes to the engineer. And what the engineer does is that they redesign the foundation type and redistribute the load of the piles. Sometimes they will request you that the contractor make provision for additional piles, or they use the pile caps to redistribute the load and do an additional design to distribute the load of the building. However, it is actually left for the engineer to give a recommendation after the pile test has been done, either the pile integrity test and the pile load test, which are the two kind of tests that are done on top of a pile foundation once it is installed. I hope I've answered your question, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Thanks, sir.
Yes. Mr. Usman, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
All right. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, I think my question is actually around the mold and then the leaching growth on the wall.
Okay.
Yeah, most times, like I have one. There's this building which they just did the spreading and painting of the external walls like 3 months ago, and as we speak now, we can see visibly the leaching, as in leaching growth around that, some parts of the building. So, of course, that area is actually exposed to, rain, water, so once it rain, it drops, down on the wall. So I think as a result of that, I see some yellowish, kind of color, coming out on the wall. So how can one permanently treat such kind of issues?
Okay, first of all, once you have issue of water or damp on the wall, it's always a difficult thing to treat. And basically, the problem actually starts from the foundation. What's it called? Mr. Adebola was trying to say that there are different problems that happens once you are doing foundation and the foundation does not have the DPC or the DPM properly installed. It's a recipe for that kind of problem. And once you begin to have capillary rise and then on your building, it's difficult to manage. However, there are some chemicals that they use to treat. However, they will have to dig around the foundation first, apply it on the external part of the wall, and then sometimes they have to break at a level of the foundation where the foundation wall around the building and inject some chemicals into it and plaster back so that by the time the water is coming, it forms like a resistance that does not allow the water go beyond that. There are several solutions for some of these things. However, these solutions are not always permanent. They have a gestation period of 5 to, I think, 8 years or thereabout, depending on how, if it's properly done. And afterwards, that same solution may fail. But that's the best we have right now. You will just treat the wall. Sometimes you have some people that will come, they will probably scrape out the plaster of the wall and then apply some waterproofing agent on the block wall. When they do that, you replaster using a waterproof cement for the mixing of the plaster material. And after you now apply the waterproof cement on the plastering, after the wall has been plastered, you also now apply a waterproofing layer on top of that wall before you now apply your undercoat, your premier, and you now paint to finish the wall. And you see that those layers are very difficult. It takes a lot of time, but that's the best solution that personally I have applied and which has helped a lot to save the walls from this capillary rise and from having all this damp on the wall. Again, another problem that may arise from this is when you have damaged pipes within the wall that is soaking the wall, that is causing the damp. Such cases, you may need to check the pipes, look for the pipes, and treat the problem that causes that leakages. Especially the culprits are normally water supply pipes for toilets and kitchens, and then sometimes you have the AC drain pipes that condensate pipes are draining water out. Sometimes when it goes through the wall, it may get busted in the wall and nobody knows. You just see it after a while, it will just be soaking the wall. And after a long time, maybe months, maybe close to even a year before you start seeing the impact and the effect of what that pipe would have done to the wall. So you may need to check all this and then apply the solutions. And I think it should be able to solve the problem. Thank you very much. Usman, I hope I've answered the question.
Yes, you have, and I think I will take that from the solution which you have mentioned because there are most times you see some parts of the wall which is not really due to probably maybe dampness as a result of probably maybe improper or this when they're doing the foundation, the DPC and all of that. So sometimes you see that at the top of the building, maybe around the staircase area, the facade area, you see, those colors, coming out. So I think the solution also applies to that as well. So that's my take on that. The takeout, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
You.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Modupe, let me hear you. You can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening, ma'am.
Okay, thank you for your lecture, sir. I just wanted to make a point about you saying we really love terrazzo floors. They actually seem outdated, and I don't know why. Maybe because they breed dust, and they don't really look appealing. But I just wanted to know why that is your favorite floor. That aside,
No,
then
that's my
also,
personal favorite. I didn't say that. I'm not saying that you should like it. It's just me. I just
no, I'm
like it.
just saying
That's all.
why. I don't understand why. It's quite outdated, sir. It's quite.
Okay.
I mean, if you go to houses now, I mean, and I don't know why, but I was just thinking maybe because it breeds dust and it's not aesthetically pleasing. So,
Okay. That's that what I would say to that is that there's no floor type that doesn't breed dust. Terrazzo does not exactly breed dust if you probably maintain it. Terrazzo can remain the way it is. You did it like 50 years ago when it's properly maintained. It doesn't fade out. It doesn't chip off because it is made from natural occurring stones and is actually polished. And you may look at it as outdated. So the tiles that you see, after a while, it actually can chip off. It's like a natural occurring stuff. So, but anyway, that's my own preference. So I don't want to sell it to you so that you go and use it because there are so people don't even do it anymore. So there's no need wasting energy on that anymore. Anyway, for me, I like it, but that does not mean that if I'm doing any building construction now, I would use it. I will only use it if the client feels that they treat and say I like terrazzo, I want you to do terrazzo. I understand. Terrazzo is an old whatever. It's not modern anymore. Insist that's what we'll have it done. But if not, it's just my personal preference anyway. Not that I will use it for any building now. It's like you said, it's already outdated.
yes, okay, all right, thank you, sir. So to my main
All
question.
right, you're welcome. Yeah, your
um,
question. Go ahead.
so the, um, I want to ask, when you see like a vertical crack on the wall, right? Does it mean there's a
Yes.
problem with foundation? Because I know of a
Okay.
building, it was built like in a very slumpy area. So it's almost like every 6 months the building is settling because they're
Okay.
always like filling the base, the sides of it's either maybe the staircase is falling apart or detaching, or the base wall is eating up, or the cement there is like falling apart. So I don't I don't know what kind of
Okay. Let me say this. I've talked about building settlement when we're going through the class. Um, for building settlements and there's vertical crack is nothing to worry about. But what you have just described now, it means that the foundation of that building is failing. And what that is happening, they'll just keep doing a cosmetic. That building will have to go down eventually because the underneath of the foundation is washing away. They are not they're not securing the foundation. It's been affected by erosion because of the slopey area of where the building was done. And when you have that kind of situation around that area where you have the worst impact, they are supposed to have a retaining wall that retains the content of the soil in place so that it doesn't wash away. The retaining wall has a way of doing that and maintaining it. If they had a retaining wall there, they won't be doing this patch that you are doing. However, for what you have described, that building is failing. If you know the people that are there, advise them to plan to start leaving that place because that building can collapse anytime soon. Thank you.
the
Have I
building
answered
was
your question, Ms.
it was just erected last year, sir. Like, I mean,
It's
people
failing now. Whether it's elected yesterday, if it's failing, it's failing.
ah, oh God, wow, okay, all
Yeah.
right. But to prevent such, you know, I mean, people that want to build, like, what are the maybe possible
I've told you
certifications?
one thing now. Use retaining wall. They should use a sometimes when some of these will build, they build from their head. Use a qualified engineer. The engineer will do the soil topography test and see where the pressure points are. And most of the times, what they do around those areas is that they make recommendation to use a retaining wall. And apart from using retaining walls, they can also apply to use pile foundation in those critical points, so that the building itself is standing isolated from the immediate ground soil. Once you do piling there, the building will stand on its own. The characteristics of the soil does not affect or influence the building. The building underneath can even wash off. The building will still be standing if you do it on pile. So it's just like building a bridge, building a house on top of a bridge. So the engineer is supposed to do that design. Maybe they didn't use a qualified engineer, or they didn't do it soil test for the engineer to use. They just say, just build the house like this. Now, so we want that. And that's why they are probably getting into this issue. And once the foundation has failed, just advise them. Oh, if you know anybody that is living there, that is your friend, that you love the person, tell the person to look for another house. Sorry.
Wow. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. So let me take Victoria now. You can unmute yourself.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for today's lecture. My question is on the door. On the door.
Okay.
What type of we have a room where the door always give us problem. We keep there is corrosive chemical that we keep there. We put a wooden door, we chop the door. We put a metal door to swell up, and with time the hinges and everything will just fall apart. So what kind of door can you recommend for such things?
Okay, off my head, where you have that kind of room, you may need a composite door material, and that kind of material that you require for that door may be aluminum coated with a little bit of plastic, rubber. And those doors, you can get some China doors like that. That's the internal component of the door itself is made of aluminum, and then the outer coating is made of vinyl, more vinyl anyway. I think that will last longer for where you have corrosive chemicals. That should do well for that door, for that particular kind of door. That's the solution I know I have used at the point and worked. So I think if you try that, you should be able to have a respite from that. I hope I've answered your question, ma.
Yes, sir, but I did not get that. What do you call the name? Plastic and vinyl.
Vinyl. You get in the market.
Plastic
it's vinyl coated.
Vinyl, okay.
Yes, vinyl, yes.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Clement, your hands is up, so let's hear what you have.
Let me come again. Something actually bothering me. I needed you to give us a little advice on it. But in the area where we stay, this Lekki houses, most developers sometimes they use substandard materials to make building. But this material will be looking very appealing, shine in the face. But over a period of time, it begins to deteriorate. And you that want to buy a building, may look at those buildings. These buildings are very wonderful. Looking at it, they are appealing of the eye. But the quality itself of the building is not what you might get after time. Is there a way you can be able to check component by component of a building to know what are the qualities that were used in that building?
Okay, this is a very tough question you're asking me. And first of all, when developers are doing their building, one, they are out to make maximum profit. So I've worked in a development company before, and I had to leave them because they were doing sharp practices, and I personally did not support what they were doing. The quality of delivery for any building, I will even advise anyone that wants to buy a house from a developer, please do not buy a finished house. Buy what we call the shell and the core, where you can see the blocks, the structural elements still existing before you buy the building. Do your finishing yourself, because finishing is just cosmetics. By the time they finish the building, you may not exactly see what the component of the building is, the kind of blocks they use there, the reinforcement they use for the concrete works and all that. And those are the structural element of the building that holds the building itself, that will determine if that building will last or it will not last. The cosmetics, the tiles, the painting, the windows, the doors, all those are cosmetics. Those ones can easily be changed. So if you buy the building shell and core, you can do a non-destructive test, what you call NDT, to check the structural elements. You check the columns. Once you use the test, it will show you if the quality of concrete is good that was used for the columns and the beams. It will also show you the quality of reinforcement that are embedded into the columns and the beams, if they are properly, if they are good ones, or they are those substandard ones. Once you do the non-destructive test, it will show you if the building will pass the stress test. If it passes the stress test, go ahead and buy. But if it doesn't pass it, please just take a walk away from the building, because the building itself is just a disaster waiting to happen. I hope I've answered your question, sir.
Okay, thank you. That's good. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any more questions? Clement, you still have your hands up again. Okay, Adebola, let's hear you. You can unmute yourself and ask your question, Mr.
Okay. Good evening, sir. Thanks for
yeah. Go ahead.
This question. Please, I want to ask, is there any machine to use to, I know that there are machines, or there's a way to detect like the pillars and the iron in the building. Is there anyone to detect leakage? Like, for instance, the plumbing leakage. If there's a plumbing leakage,
there's an equipment. We call it ultraviolet damp detector.
That's after the class to know if I'll just how to make a procurement, or how can I get it? Like, I really need it for my work.
Now, just you get it. You can get it. It's you probably order it outside the country. Go to eBay or Amazon. You get the equipment there.
Please, the name again, sir.
Ultraviolet leak detector.
Please help me with the spelling, sir. Ultraviolet.
Ultraviolet now.
Okay. Ultraviolet. Okay.
It's an ultraviolet ray machine. You just scan the wall. It will be showing you. It will give you different color, either red or blue or whatever. It will show you when there is leakage or when there is no leakage. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thanks, sir. I appreciate it.
All right. Do we have any other question? Okay, if we don't have any question from anybody, I want to use this opportunity to thank you for your time this evening, being in class. I hope you enjoyed yourself. It's good to have you guys around again. Please have yourself a good evening, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, sir.
All right, good night, all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Good night. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thanks, sir. Good night.